The rain tapped softly against the tall windows of the Hawthorne estate, a sprawling mansion nestled in the misty hills of upstate New York. The air inside was heavy, scented with polished wood and old money, but it carried a quiet sadness too. Nobody spoke of it, but everyone felt the weight of a home that had forgotten how to be happy. For years, maids came and went, their footsteps echoing briefly in the marble halls before they vanished, unable to bear the strange, unspoken burden of the place. They all left for the same reason. Little Clara Hawthorne, the millionaire's daughter, she was 8 years old, with wide, stormy eyes and a silence that seemed to swallow the world around her. No maid lasted more than a month, until Emily Harper arrived. Emily was different, though she didn't know it yet. At 32, she carried her own quiet scars, years of working odd jobs, scraping by, always searching for a place to belong. Her auburn hair was tied back in a loose braid, and her hands, rough from years of labor, were steady as she knocked on the heavy oak door of the mansion. The housekeeper, Mrs. Grayson, greeted her with a tight smile. "You're the new maid," she said, her voice clipped. "Don't expect it to be easy." "Clara broken bar, she's difficult." Emily nodded, clutching her worn suitcase. She wasn't here for easy. She was here for a job, for a roof, for a chance to start over. The mansion was a labyrinth of shadowed rooms and creaking floors, each corner holding memories no one dared to touch. Clara's mother had died when she was a baby, and her father, William Hawthorne, was a ghost in his own home, a wealthy man consumed by work, always away, leaving Clara to wander the halls alone. The maids whispered about her. She didn't speak, they said. She stared too long, her eyes like dark pools. They saw too much. She broke things, of vases, mirrors, once even a chandelier, though no one could prove it was her. They said she was haunted, or worse, that she drove others away with her strangeness. Emily's first day was quiet, too quiet. She dusted the endless shelves of books in the library, polished silver in the dining room, and mopped floors that gleamed under the dim glow of chandeliers. Clara was nowhere to be seen, but Emily felt her presence, like a shadow just out of sight. At dinner, Mrs. Grayson handed Emily a tray. "Take this to Clara's room," she said. "She doesn't eat with us." Emily climbed the winding staircase, her footsteps muffled by thick carpet. She knocked softly on Clara's door. No answer. She pushed it open. Clara sat on the floor, surrounded by scattered crayons and torn paper. Her dark hair fell over her face, hiding her eyes. The room was a chaos of broken toys and half-finished drawings, all jagged lines and angry reds. Emily set the tray on a small table. "Hi, Clara," she said gently. "I'm Emily. I brought your dinner." Clara didn't move, didn't look up. The silence stretched, heavy and cold. Emily waited, then left, closing the door behind her. That night, she lay awake in her small room in the servants' quarters, listening to the rain. Something about Clara's silence felt familiar, like a memory Emily had buried long ago. Days passed, each one blending into the next. Emily cleaned, cooked, and carried trays to Clara's room. The girl never spoke, never smiled. Sometimes, Emily found her drawings of violent scribbles of storms and shattered houses. Other maids might have quit, unnerved by the girl's intensity, but Emily stayed. She didn't know why, not at first. Maybe it was the way Clara's hands trembled when she thought no one was watching, or the way her eyes flickered with something like fear when Emily lingered too long. Emily began to notice patterns. Clara broke things only when her father called to say he'd be gone longer. She tore her drawings when Mrs. Grayson scolded her. Her silence wasn't defiance, it was a shield. One morning, Emily found Clara in the garden, sitting under a willow tree, its branches swaying in the damp autumn breeze. The girl clutched a small, cracked porcelain bird, its wing chipped. Emily knelt beside her, keeping her distance. "That's a pretty bird," she said softly. Clara's fingers tightened around it, but she didn't run. Emily pointed to the tree. "My mom used to say willows are magic. They listen when you talk." Clara's eyes flicked up, just for a moment, then back down. Emily didn't push. She sat there, letting the silence settle, the wind carrying the scent of wet earth. It was the first time Clara didn't turn away. The days grew shorter, the mansion colder. Emily started leaving small things in Clara's room: a sprig of lavender on her pillow, a polished stone from the garden, A sketch of a willow tree Emily drew herself. She didn't know if Clara noticed, but the drawings she found were less angry, the reds fading to blues and greens. One evening, as Emily set down Clara's dinner tray, she saw something new, a drawing of two figures under a tree, one with auburn hair. Emily's heart caught in her throat. She looked at Clara, who was watching her from the corner, her eyes softer than before. "Is this us?" Emily asked. Clara didn't answer, but she didn't look away either. The tension in the mansion grew. Mrs. Grayson noticed Emily's patience with Clara and didn't like it. "You're here to clean, not coddle her," she snapped one afternoon. "She's trouble, always has been." Emily bit her tongue, but her resolve hardened. She wasn't just a maid, she was starting to understand Clara, to see the hurt behind her silence. William Hawthorne returned briefly, his face lined with exhaustion. He barely glanced at Clara, who stood in the doorway, clutching her porcelain bird. "She's fine," he said to Mrs. Grayson, his voice distant. "Just keep her out of trouble." Emily watched Clara's shoulders slump, and something inside her stir at a memory of her own childhood, of being unseen, unheard. The breakthrough came on a rainy afternoon. Emily was cleaning the library when she heard a crash from upstairs. She ran to Clara's room, her heart pounding. Clara stood in the center, shards of a broken vase at her feet. Her hands were shaking, her eyes wide with panic. Emily didn't scold her. Instead, she knelt among the pieces. "It's okay," she said, her voice steady. "We can fix this." Clara's breath hitched, and for the first time, she spoke, her voice small and cracked. "You can't fix it. Nothing stays." Emily looked up, meeting her eyes. "Some things do," she said. "I'm still here, aren't I?" Clara's words unlocked something. Over the next days, she began to talk, not much, but enough. She told Emily about her mother, how she used to sing to her before she got sick. She talked about her father, how he was never home, how she thought he didn't love her. Emily listened, her heart aching. She shared her own story as to how she lost her mom young, how she'd learned to keep going even when it hurt. They sat under the willow tree often, Clara clutching her porcelain bird, Emily sketching beside her. The drawings changed and now they showed flowers, birds, two figures holding hands. One evening, Emily found a letter on her bed, written in Clara's careful, childish handwriting. It was short, "Thank you for staying." Emily's eyes stung. She tucked the letter into her pocket, a quiet promise forming in her mind. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She was someone Clara needed, someone who saw her. The twist came unexpectedly. William Hawthorne returned for a longer stay, his face softer, as if he'd sensed a change in the house. He found Emily and Clara in the garden, Clara laughing, a sound so rare it seemed to brighten the air. He watched them, his expression unreadable. Later, he called Emily to his study. "You've done something I couldn't," he said, his voice low. "She's a broken bar, different, happier." Emily braced herself, expecting to be dismissed, her job done. Instead, he offered her a new role, not as a maid, but as Clara's companion, someone to stay by her side, to help her heal. "You understand her," he said. "I don't." Emily accepted, her heart full. The mansion felt lighter now, the shadows less heavy. She and Clara spent their days together, drawing, talking, planting flowers in the garden. Clara's silence faded, replaced by a quiet strength. William began to stay home more, joining them under the willow tree, listening as Clara spoke, his eyes softening with every word. The maid stopped quitting. The house began to feel like a home. As autumn turned to winter, Emily sat with Clara by the fire, the porcelain bird resting on the mantel. Clara leaned against her, her voice soft. "You won't leave, right?" Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Clara's face. "I'm staying," she said. And she meant it. The rain still fell outside, but it no longer felt heavy. It was just rain, washing the world clean. For anyone listening to this story, let it be a reminder, sometimes, the impossible just takes a little patience, a little heart. If you see someone hurting, don't look away. Stay. You might be the one who changes everything.